Call the meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. There are agendas located on the table outside if you didn't get one. This is a public meeting for which public notice has been provided. Proceedings are being broadcast and recorded and can be viewed online on the City of Casper's YouTube channel. So you can go home and watch yourselves on TV. First, I'd like to read some informational statements about the meeting. Number one, use of cellular phones is not permitted. All phones shall be turned off or otherwise silenced during the Planning and Zoning meeting. When speaking to the Planning and Zoning Commission, please clearly state your name and address. Keep your remarks pertinent to the issue being considered by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Do not repeat the same statements that were made by a previous speaker, and speak to the Planning and Zoning Commission as you would like to be spoken to. Do not address applicants or other audience members directly. Make your comments at the podium and direct it to the chairperson and Planning and Zoning Commission. I'd like to remind everyone present that the City of Casper Planning and Zoning Commission is a volunteer body composed of members of the Casper community and appointed by the Casper City Council. The commission is actually acting as a quasi-judicial panel, making final decisions on some items and recommendations to the City Council on others as dictated by law. The commission may only consider evidence about any case as it relates to existing law. The commission cannot make or change planning or zoning laws, regulations, policies, or guidelines. We have all commissioners present tonight. Next item on the agenda this evening is consideration of the minutes from last Planning and Zoning Commission meeting held on November 9th, 2023. Are there any additions or corrections from anybody?
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes as circulated.
Second. So moved by Commissioner Hall, seconded by Commissioner Wingeter. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
With Commissioner Plowchek abstaining and all other members voting aye, the motion carries.
That's right, you weren't here. Thank you. We would now like to call on our Community Development Director for a special presentation. Ms. Becker.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good evening. Tonight, we wanted to take the time to acknowledge two of our commissioners who have terms expiring at the end of this month and to thank them for their service, that being both Vickery and Ken. And we put together a little something to thank you and did a little bit of research as to some of the cases that you have been involved in since your terms began on the Planning Commission. And as Mike so eloquently said, it is a volunteer board. And I like to share that my father was a member of the Planning Commission back in the late 70s. And at that time, Casper was growing to the east and Rustic Ridge was being developed, and something called the Casper Event Center came before the Planning Commission for him to approve. And so through all these years, the growth has been wonderful that Casper has seen, and planning commissioners are usually the first blush outside of staff to see the growth and the development that Casper has. When my father passed in 2017, I came across a framed copy of a letter that he had kept that had been signed by the mayor from the city of Casper in 1979, thanking him for his service. And so in 2017, we began the process of replicating that letter, having the current mayor sign it to thank you for your service. And we've also put together a little photo memory of Casper. Thank you for serving the city that we all love. So some of the projects that both of you have touched since your terms on Planning Commission were involved, I'm just going to hit a few of the highlights. You worked with Ravencrest apartments that are out on Outer Drive and a low-income property, and you were part of the site plan development, as well as we'll see some of these zoning and annexations and some of the other projects, even conditional use permits. You helped with the Meadowlark Apartments, which is a senior complex here in town. Most recently, you all reviewed and approved the site plan for Liberty Square, which opened on Beverly for workforce housing, which the city desperately needed. You're also involved with the Topol addition, And that is where we now see Hilltop Bank on the east side of Casper, as well as the recently opened La Casina. So you worked with that vacant piece of property in the site plan that was brought forward by those developers. You were involved with the YMCA project, pardon me. You also worked with the zone change and the site plan for the Pasadena addition, which is where the former Parkway Plaza sits, and all the property, the 22 acres that we now see in redevelopment. You worked with the North Platte River Park, which is the property across the street from the Casper Event Center, which has been rezoned to an industrial zoning classification from Park Historic, so that we can hopefully see some new development up there. And most recently, you also worked with the Wyo Sports Ranch, which is again a pretty significant project for all sides of Casper. And again, I think back and I reflect as to when I was in junior high and Dad was on Planning Commission watching Casper grow, and now being able to see it as adults. So we thank you. Staff thoroughly enjoys working with all of you as planning commissioners. You are instrumental in our day-to-day work, and City Council truly blesses the work that you provide for them in reviewing these cases. So at this point, we would like to thank Ken Bates, Vickery Vales Hall, for their service on the Casper Planning Commission.
Thank you so much. So sweet. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Liz. Thank both of you for serving. It's been an honor to serve with you the last 3 years. It's been fun. Most of it.
We're gonna miss you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda this evening are the scheduled public hearings. If all commissioners are present, before we get started, just a reminder to all this evening's applicants that it takes 4 affirmative votes to pass any item. The first public hearing tonight will be for consideration of case ZOC 5272023 concerning a request for a zone change of proposed tract A1 Kensington Heights addition number 4 from R2 1-unit residential to R4 high density residential. The applicant is Kensington Heights Development LLC. Is the applicant present, and do you wish to proceed?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we would excuse Commissioner Eskew at this time.
Due to a conflict, I'm going to recuse myself from this case and then I'll be back in afterward, okay?
Thank you, sir. We'll call you back in after this one.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Oh, thank you. On all cases tonight, citizen remarks will be limited to 5 minutes. Please remember to keep your remarks pertinent to the issue being considered and do not repeat the same statements that were made by a previous speaker. So please pay attention so that we can get through these in a timely manner. Something else. So can we please get a staff report at this time?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kensington Heights Development LLC has applied for a zone change of 10 acres, more or less, located at the southeast corner of Centennial Village Drive and Southeast Wyoming Boulevard from R2 to R4. The subject property is currently undeveloped, and the proposed use of the property is multifamily residential. R2 zoning does not list multifamily residential as either a permitted or a conditional use. Land uses in the surrounding area are a mix of residential, educational, and commercial. The subject property was originally included in the Centennial Hills Planned Unit Development approved in 2003. In March of 2020, the area was rezoned from PUD to R2 1-unit residential via ordinance number 6-20. Zoning immediately surrounding the subject property is PUD to the north, R2 to the south and east, and unincorporated county land to the west. Section 1712-170 of the Casper Municipal Code provides guidance on zone change requests and requires the Community Development Director to provide a report to the Commission as to the request conformance with the Comprehensive Land Use Plan. The Generation Casper Comprehensive Land Use Plan also provides a future land use plan which is found in chapter 4 on page 4-26. The future land use plan is an illustrative map that identifies the physical distribution of land uses and forms the basis for future zoning and land use regulations. The FLU designates the desired future use of the subject property as community center. Page 4-33 of the plan describes community centers as a concentration of commercial activity that may include some mix of higher density residential uses and multi-story buildings. Chapter 3 of the 2017 Generation Casper Plan provides specific principles, goals, and strategies to guide land development and decision making based on the input received from citizens during the development of the plan. Applicable principles, goals, and strategies are as follows. ECH 1-4 housing space, promote land use patterns that provide adequate housing of all types, supported by integrated parks and services. ECH 1-5 fair housing, provide a range of attainable and affordable housing throughout the community with equal access to fair housing. UL 2-4 community housing, implement land use changes that encourage diverse housing options and affordability by integrating the latest tools, incentives, and code options. Mr. Chairman, we received 13 letters of opposition and 1 petition in opposition with 93 signatures. I have 16 exhibits to enter into the record. A is the application for a zone change. B, public notice sent to property owners within 300 feet. C, legal notice sent to the Star Tribune. D, photo of the public notice sign on the property. E, memo to the chairman and members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. F, email expressing opposition from property owner at 2730 Arden Lane. G, email expressing opposition from property owner at 2829 Arden Lane. H, email expressing opposition from property owner at 2541 Boots Drive. I, email expressing opposition from property owner at 4421 Grayman Drive. J, email expressing opposition from the property owner at 2923 Heath Road. K, email expressing opposition from property owner at 2800 Arden Lane. L, email expressing opposition from property owner at 2552 Boots Drive. M, letter expressing opposition from property owner at 2902 Lambert Court. N, petition expressing opposition signed by 93 property owners. O, letter expressing opposition from property owner at 2231 Miracle Drive. And P, email expressing opposition from property owner at 2450 Grove Street. That concludes our report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Reading through the letters of opposition, it's kind of clear to me that I don't feel that everybody understands what exactly it is that we're doing tonight with this zone change. Could you kind of explain in layman's terms what our job is in this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the chance to get it on a cursory level. The zoning is just the allowable land uses on the property. Right now, the land uses are restricted to basically single-family residential. With the zone change, it would open it up to single-family residential up to and including multifamily residential and some small commercial uses. A lot of the comments that I saw had to do with development concerns, infrastructure, drainage, traffic, things like that are typically not we don't address those with a zone change. We typically address those with a development plan that we can actually look at the numbers and the data. So for instance, if a office building or a multifamily wanted to build there, we would ask for drainage studies, we would ask for traffic studies, we would ask for water and sewer studies. We would ensure that those development details are adequately addressed at that point. That said, we certainly care about the potential land use implications to the surrounding neighborhood, but we can't get into too much detail about potential development problems or inadequacies that may not work for the proposed development out there.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Craig. The problem, tell me this though, I mean, to make a decision on this proposed zoning change, certainly don't you kind of have to look at the congestion of the area? I mean, wouldn't that have anything to do with the proposed zoning change? You're telling us that that doesn't matter to us right now? Is that what you're saying?
That the comprehensive plan talks about congestion and ways to mitigate that and things like that. So what the code states, and I think Wallace can probably say it in better legal form than I can, but the code states that decisions on zone changes should be made based on the comprehensive plan, other adopted plans, and whether it's suitable and common in the neighborhood, what's around it, does it fit? But we don't know for sure whether traffic is an issue until we do a study, so we can't assume anything at this point.
Yeah, right now, we don't know what future plans would be for the property.
So
Our job is to look at, to see if that zone is appropriate for.
I can tell you, for instance, single family housing generates 10 trips on average per day, according to the ITE manual, whereas multifamily residential only does 5 trips per dwelling unit. So again, you can't assume just based on the use that it's going to create a traffic problem. That there's a study and engineering involved. That it's too early to do.
That'll come later in the process, if the process goes any further.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the report and explanation. Exhibits are noted. Any other commissioners have any questions for the staff?
I just want to clarify.
Okay,
Currently, there is no development plan absolute for this right now, for this piece of property. Nothing's set in stone, nothing's been planned.
Correct, and I appreciate you bringing that up. Although the applicant has stated that they want to do multifamily, there's no guarantee that the multifamily is what's going to end up there. It could be anything on that list.
Thank you.
there's quite a list
Yeah.
of things that can go in there. So. Okay, anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I do ask, the other night I went to the city council just to see what was going on. I was sitting way up there and you could not hear. So I would ask everybody to speak up so they can hear up there.
Okay. Thanks, sir. I'll try to make sure my voice projects. No other questions? Then next I would ask that the applicant and or their authorized representative come forward to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and explain your application to the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and commissioners. My name is Mike Lansing. I'm a lawyer with the law firm of Chapman Valdez and Lansing, and I am counsel and the representative for the applicant, Kensington Heights Development LLC. They are the applicant here. They are not going to be the end user, and I will talk about that a little bit later. They're applying for this underneath the contract that has the end user for the development. I would like to note in reading some of the opposition that I've read in the emails and petition, Kensington Heights Development LLC is not owned by Lisa Burridge. I just wanted to make that clear because I know that was in some of the documents. I had some presentation on your job, but Craig did a great job of setting forth kind of what your duties are here today. And it's just look at the evidence that's presented by myself, as well as all the staff recommendations, those that come and speak in opposition in the letters that you received. I thought I'd just go over just a quick little bit of history based upon some of those oppositions when I was researching this and the purpose. First of all, you know, as you know, much of this area, as Craig pointed out, was underneath the Centennial Hills PUD, and some of it still is underneath there. And underneath that PUD, if you look at it, it allowed for commercial development, multifamily development. That's part of the R4. It allowed for single family duplexes as well as single family detached with the single family homes. So prior to March of 2020, we probably wouldn't be here. But it was revised to R2 in March of 2020 by the applicant. And so some of the objections has been that there would be a huge change in the value of their property. I'm curious of those that did that, what their thoughts was if they owned the house prior to March of 2020, because it could have been done when they purchased that property. It was underneath the PUD that allowed for this. And so that's something just for you to consider when you're listening to the information on devaluation of property. In addition, when I reviewed those that signed the petition in opposition to the zoning change, and I would ask that you look at that petition. I think Craig said there's 90 some signatures on there. I do admire somebody for going around and getting that. That takes a lot of time and courage. As this is an evidentiary hearing and you're taking this as a quasi judicial panel, I ask that you review that petition really closely. First of all, the petition and many of the other letters that you said state that the zoning request is from R2 to C2. C2 is obviously the business, and that is not what the application is. That's a false statement, as the zoning changes to R4. It was initially a C2, but the applicant amended that to an R4. So the petition that was signed, I would say, is providing misleading information and should be discarded. In addition, I would ask Craig, thank you, Craig, I was just Collins. This is a map. I don't know if you can see it on the TV screen too, but that's a map of the affected area, which is the black circle. That's the area of the people that underneath the current guidelines are to object and get notice. The red is those people that submitted some objection to it. As you can see, many of the people are not in the same area that they would be affected, even by traffic increases, noise, the mentions of crime. Some of those are not in the area. And so I'd like you to consider that when you're thinking of those that made the objection. In the petition, as I said earlier, there were the objections. There was 8 reasons that they listed in the petition. First of all, as I mentioned earlier, they said when we bought the homes, it was zoned R2. It was the value that we based that upon. As I stated above, many of the purchases were when the PUD was there, so they might have got actually a better deal, as the R4 is still better than the PUD. In addition, there is no empirical evidence that has been provided that I've seen to date that the values will go down. However, there are studies that show that apartments don't hurt property values around them if the complex is built to fit in the neighborhood. Working class communities with multifamily housing even tend to have higher property values in the vicinity. In the neighborhood work study called Americans Working Communities and the Impact of Multifamily Housing, which is the #1 study that's been provided by Harvard University at www.jchs.harvard.edu. The study defines the type of mixture of multifamily structures and single-family homes as mixed housing stock working communities. The finding of this study shows that the average income in the mixed housing stock working communities was higher than the average single-family working communities that they studied. Most importantly, and I really want you to take this into consideration, the working communities with multifamily dwellings have higher housing values on average than other type of working communities, including the single family home only areas that it currently has. So this study shows that if you build the top proper type of multi-use apartment buildings that we've seen renderings of, it will actually draw younger professional people into the area and increase it. I know one of the objections stated that there would be an immediate 20% reduction in values. I don't know what that's based on, and if they have information to provide that, I'd love to see it, because that's not what the study that I have looked at read. The second point was crime and noise will accompany any business development. As we stated, this isn't a business development. However, if you want to focus on crime, there is another study out there done by the School of Urban and Public Affairs for the University of Texas and the city of Irvine. And it showed, and it was clear in empirical data, that new well-kept apartments don't have higher crime rates when they're added to a community, but they actually lower the crime rate in that area. And I can provide that study if you need that also. The third comment on their objection on the petition was when residents were concerned about zoning change in 2022, didn't know a change to business. Again, it's not going to business, it's going to water. Fourth, they said is traffic. And as Craig said, that's something that should be addressed after a traffic study and upon a development plan. But if you look at that, I would assume with an apartment building, almost everybody would leave on Centennial Village Drive and head out on Wyoming Boulevard. I don't see the purpose, if you expand that map out even, why they would be driving through the neighborhoods. And so I understand. I live in a community that you don't want a lot of traffic in the residential areas. I don't see, I think almost everybody would exit and go out to Wyoming Boulevard. I know that if a development plan came, that could talk about more traffic control off of Wyoming Boulevard to address the influx of traffic, but that's for the development side. One of the other concerns, the fifth concern, was that it would affect the local school, Summit. That is across the street as part of the affected area. I wouldn't say this is accurate because Casper is a school of choice. And the number of students that each school has is set by the district. It's not going to change the increase, it won't increase the number. I've called and confirmed that with the district. They put the number of students in each one, and by school of choice, they fill up. So secondly, they talked about potentially increasing traffic for drop-off. I would assume if there is a school or a apartment building put in there, multiple apartment buildings, that the school-aged children would potentially walk across the street to the school instead of be dropped off. So it might actually have the reverse effect and stop the number of drop-offs that occur. They said 6 was the school would adversely affect by increasing the student-teacher ratio. Again, the same thing, that I don't expect the school of choice that to change. The 7th was once the business, and any business comes in, I didn't know what they really meant by that, but since this isn't a business, sure with that. And then 8th finally is the proposal will reduce property values. As I've stated before, there's empirical data showing that's a false statement. I just want to close with some final closing points for consideration. This proposed location is currently on sale still. It's on the MLS, and it could be purchased by any other buyer at the R2 if they want to come develop their housing in there. It's a total of 20 acres that's for sale, 10's up for rezoning, and the sales price is about $1.5 million. The apartments that are being proposed are high-end market rate apartments being built by a reputable apartment development company that does developments like this all across the United States. I think most importantly, and all of you know this, Casper, like many other communities in Wyoming, needs more housing, period. They just need places for people to live. The community has been growing in the size over the past decades, and we've all heard people say, we need more housing. This will provide good quality, high-end living for young professionals to move back and to live in. The apartment building will bring revenue to the city and community that many of those objecting will benefit from via taxes on the new building and spending by the new residents. And finally, the apartment building versus single family dwelling create more, which creates more housing. This won't require as much extensive infrastructure as single family homes because the water lines are all right there, the sewer, the electric's all right there. It will actually have less impact on the city to bring that into a smaller, more condensed area. So with that, if you have any questions.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Any commissioners have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Lansing, do they, let's say if this, goes fourth tonight and if it passes, how soon were they gonna start construction? Do you have any idea? Is it gonna be right away, a year or whatever?
I can't speak for the developer, because, and Craig might have something more than this. The process would take some time because this is just a zoning change. Then they would go under final contract. Then they would submit a development plan, to show the development. So, sure, 6 months to a year at least.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners? Schmitz.
You talked about the study, the first study, not the school study, but study of development in it throughout. I guess my question is regarding the study is you can do a study of San Francisco, California, or I mean, not California, but New York City, Dallas, but that's not Casper. That is not Wyoming. That is much bigger, obviously populated, obviously needed. So how can you compare? How does that study compare to from other large cities and other populations compared to small little Wyoming public people, especially Casper at what, 56,000?
The study took into consideration various populations in it, but I can't say it directly relates to Casper, Wyoming. I can't. I was looking for information either way of looking for values. That was the only empirical data that I did find associated with it. I don't have any showing either direction. So in Wyoming.
What was that study again?
Name of it?
Yes, please.
Wish I could just have that memorized for you.
No worries.
It was the Americans, Working Communities and the Impact of Multifamily Housing, done by Harvard University.
Harvard?
Mhm. That was,
Thank you.
I picked a bad time for this.
No, I'd rather have all the information than portion. So thank you for answering that. My last question, I don't know if you can really answer this, but it kind of stuck out in my mind is everybody keeps talking about developing this, developing that for young professionals to come back and be here in, again, Casper, Wyoming, which I love. I've lived here all my life, basically. However, how many businesses have closed within just this year, but yet how many businesses, professional businesses, to bring back younger generation, is here to support what you're saying? Because I see more, and just my opinion, I see more older generation, my age, his age, just kidding, coming to develop a family. And in an apartment complex, it's a little bit harder. I was in an apartment with 3 young girls and my wife, and we weren't liked by neighbors. But besides the point, but you talk about young professionals, I guess I just don't, help me understand that aspect
No,
of
and
it since you brought it up.
No, I appreciate it. And it's something I thought about, I'm very similar to you. I thought about it, and I'm sure many of the people in the audience today, as well as listening online, we started off, moved back to a town, moved to a town, had our first professional job out of getting out of college or trade school. You become a first time electrician or plumber. You don't have the equity to buy a house, especially now with interest rates and what they are. And so you rent, and you want to rent something nice for your family. You don't want to rent, the basement of somebody's house. And so you this would be an area that you would look at, give you a chance to spend a couple of years, get established to move forward. That's the way I look at that transition. You know, I practiced law here for 12 years before moving to Sheridan 6 years ago. And you want to talk about an older population, Sheridan really has it, you know, we wish we could get young people. There's no service providers, you know. And so, yes, these will be higher end. I don't see this being your standard wait staff, you know, working the minimum wage job. These are, when I say professionals, I'm just saying the up and coming people that are hopefully coming or more established that just can't afford to live and make that mortgage payment because they can't get in with that 20% down. I don't know if that answered your question, but that's how I view this. That's providing those options and a good place to raise a family, at least temporarily, until they can afford a house.
Chairman, Mr. Lansing, you're of course representing developers or the.
I am representing the applicant who owns the land, who will be selling it to a developer. They are not going to be doing the development.
So he doesn't know anything about the development.
You say, can you say who the developers are?
I cannot.
You can't?
I cannot right now.
Thank you.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Lansing.
Thank you very much.
Well, if we have any questions going forward, we'll call you back in. All right. Now is the time when we ask for members of the audience to come forward in either support or in opposition to this case. Please remember to state your name and address clearly into the microphone for the record, and please remember that we're limiting everyone to a 5-minute time limit. Anyone wishing to speak in support of this case, please come forward now. Nobody in support?
This takes a while to get also.
Okay. So there's nobody in support of this case, so we will go to anybody wishing to speak in opposition to this case. And also remember, if the person before you has already brought up a point, please do not reiterate that point. We don't have time to hear the exact same points over and over again. So whoever's in line first gets to start the process. So please remember to state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Eric Cuban. You make me very nervous to follow a lawyer at this microphone, particularly when he's my lawyer. That being said, I do want to stand up in opposition of this development, and I have concerns that are different than what I have heard voiced previously. And I haven't really had a venue to voice those concerns, but I actually have one primary concern. I live at the confluence of 21st and Fairwood Commons. So if you were to follow Centennial Village, it becomes 21st. Heading east, it terminates at Fairwood Commons. If your brakes failed, you'd run into my garage. And so, and that's happened several times for the record. So we should plow that. In any case, I live in the area. I'm very familiar with the area. And my concern is one of safety. And it's a little bit complex. Please let me explain. My wife and I are both physicians in town. I'm an interventional radiologist. As such, I work hand in hand with the trauma surgeons and the ER doctors. I frequently take call 24/7. I'm called in all the time for emergencies. When someone is unhealthy enough that they can't undergo general anesthesia, I get a phone call and I come in and operate on them and do my best to save them. There have been multiple instances in which I have not been able to pass Centennial Village on Centennial Village for the 2 blocks that are east of this, immediately to the east of this proposed development. When that development was made, I don't know how it got through our zoning and planning board, but that street is so narrow, you cannot park a vehicle on one side of it and have passage of.
That was city council.
Okay. Fair enough. What I can tell you is that frequently, on multiple occasions, there's been a vehicle parked on one side, either an emergency vehicle on that street and I couldn't pass, a moving truck on that street and I couldn't pass, or we've been getting a fair amount of snow lately and, you know, immobilized vehicle that is stuck and I can't get around and then I have to reroute. And I'm just giving you an example from my perspective, but that does compromise the safety of our community. And it's not, and that's just me speaking. There are other people who need to get through there. And it's also not safe to have a street that can't be passed. I mean, if there's a fire, if there, you name it, that's a significant hazard, in my opinion, to the people who live in that neighborhood, that emergency vehicles can't get through there. I genuinely, as far as home values go, I don't know enough about that and I can't speak enough about that, but I did read a letter from the person who owns the property going out to the people in the neighborhood that said something, it alluded to the fact that it will not increase traffic. And I just fundamentally reject that. There is no way that any reasonable person can tell me that building a large multifamily apartment complex immediately adjacent to Centennial Village Avenue or Drive or whatever it is, heading to the east is not going to affect traffic. If traffic is affected, it's a safety violation. And I would actually call into question the credibility, the integrity, and the motivation of anyone who makes a statement like that. And before we go down that path, I would ask you to make sure that we do an independent third-party evaluation of the effect on traffic, because in my opinion, the city of Casper made a huge mistake when they allowed that street to be developed that narrow. It is a safety concern. And so I implore you to not compound that problem by allowing development of an apartment complex on that corner. Thank you.
Thanks.
Do you guys have any questions for him?
The street that's so narrow, which one is that? Which corner exactly are you talking about?
Can we pull up the picture of it? It's Centennial Village Drive. Can we pull up?
But what's the cross street?
Yes.
It's the Boots Drive one?
Yeah, Gossfield. I think it's Gossfield on one side and Boots on the other. And then
just wanted to
easterly
make
from
sure.
there down to where it turns into 21st Street. Heathrow.
Okay,
And-
thank you.
And I mean, it is so, it's unsafe at baseline. And so if we are going to allow this development, I think that it should be incumbent upon anyone who does that they should have to come in and yes, will it be onerous? Yes, will it be a problem? But if they're going to come in and build this development, they need to be responsible for widening this street.
This first time I drove in that neighborhood, I went. Those streets are terrible. But and like we said, this part of the process is just the zoning, that type of stuff, the traffic, the design of the plan, and all that will be done if and when they come up with a plan that they want to put in. So definitely keep your eyes on it. And if it gets to that point, make sure that you come in and voice your opinion to the city council.
Just to make sure that I understand the process. If the zoning change is not allowed, then this project is also, in theory, unlikely to happen. I mean, can't happen, right? Is that correct?
Could be the change, the zoning that it is now still has quite a few different things that can be put in there.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Chairman, I think if it's turned down, they have a right to appeal before the city council. Is that not right, Wallace? Yeah.
Yeah.
Within 10 days. So it's really up to I mean, we can make a recommendation to the city council if they appeal. They might not appeal.
Well, to that extent, I would just appreciate and encourage no recommendation.
appreciate your comments. Commissioner Bates had a question for staff.
Just to clarify also through the process, if this is approved for a zone change, goes through council, they approve it. But when the developer comes to want to develop the site plan, it will still come back to us. And then anybody that's opposed with the traffic study and all that can come back to the planning and zoning and express their feelings of kind of where they're at and not what the letters had to say. Won't they be able to come back to the commission, to the Planning and Zoning Commission, tell you their issues, and then if it goes through it gets approved, then they can still go to council. Am I right on that?
Mr. Chairman, again, we don't know. We're hearing about a plan tonight and we don't know for sure that it's gonna pan out. They could lose their financing, the person could get hit by a bus. So I just want to reiterate that it could be anything on that list and not everything on that list will come back to the planning and zoning.
Okay.
However, if things happen the way that they're telling us they're gonna happen, more than likely it will come back to the planning and zoning commission for approval. And notice would go out to the surrounding neighbors and they would have opportunity to come and address at that time. And I just did want to mention that those traffic studies are always done by a third party. The city hires those, not the developer. And we get a neutral opinion based on engineering.
Okay. So, and that's what I wanted, kind of clarification that specifics, issues, if it proceeded by chance for that, it would still come back here and you guys would still have an opportunity. As far as just the zone change has nothing to, again, to do with the traffic and some of the specific issues you guys all had regarding in your letters. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that also. Again, so thank you. Sorry, man.
You're good, sir. Good evening, my name is Chris Brown. I live on Centennial Village Drive. I live out one of the yellow houses. But I will tell you, there already is a traffic problem on Centennial Village Drive. There's lots of cut through between the neighborhood. It's not, there will never be an exit just out to Wyoming Boulevard. Plenty of people cut from Wyoming Boulevard through the neighborhood, get to a lot of businesses on the other side of Landmark and whatnot. I specifically have a problem with traffic already living on that street. It's very congested, dense, let alone let's talk about the school that's out. If there's any type of construction on the street already, a multi-use family unit will add to that. I'm in law enforcement, coming from a law enforcement standpoint. For me, a multi-use, I know we're speaking about if there is one, it will be a high value one, a high end one. My experience typically aren't high-end multi-use apartment complexes unless you're waterfront in Miami or Naples or somewhere nice. But unfortunately, Florida. So, but unfortunately with multi-use, what we see is in my profession, low end. It may start off as high-end used professional young businesses, but what do most apartment complexes become low income? Unfortunately, what there involves with sometimes usually one or sometimes two working parents. Lots of people put together. Unfortunately, apartment complexes become high crime areas. They become high drug areas, unfortunately. And we can speak to instance of the new one that was built on Wyoming Boulevard. Everybody's familiar with, unfortunately, what happened at the fairgrounds this past summer. That is where those individuals were staying, and they didn't even live there. There was multiple individuals that were involved in those types of scenarios that were hanging out at that. And I hate to associate, unfortunately, apartment complexes with crime or low income or anything like that, but that's just what it brings. I've been in office for 20 years and I've seen it time and time again. So my fear is more people, more problems, higher impact to that neighborhood. That's what that will bring.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We got a
I
question.
got a question for you. You're law enforcement for City of Casper?
No, I'm federal law enforcement. I'm with DEA.
Okay. So can you, I don't know if you can really speak to it. You brought up the one on Wyoming Boulevard, but what has been the crime rate with the new one behind Coliseum Motors, right behind those really nice houses? What's been the crime rate around that section? Cause that's low income too, am I right? I think I'm right that behind Coliseum, that's low income, so. Yeah, so I'm just kinda curious.
I can't speak to statistically. I know where I work cases, which I'm obviously not gonna speak about. I don't individually work low impact cases. I work more broader things. I hate to describe it this way, I work higher end drug cases.
I get you. I get where you're coming
I'm
from.
not after the little stuff.
Right. So you, so.
And unfortunately, it's here. It's here.
Right. I
It's
agree.
everywhere.
I just said, I guess I'm trying to gather all my facts
I can't answer that question.
regarding all this.
I don't.
Okay.
And we can't.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I mean, it makes sense to me. If you wanna break into cars, you go someplace where there's a lot of cars. Hell, I mean, I
Go to the
hope you
mall.
never do, of course, but I'm just saying.
Wallace. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think I have to point out that the Fair Housing Act is going to apply here.
Yes.
And as much as people may not want an apartment complex around them, the decision has to be based on whether it complies with the comprehensive plan. Not, I don't want those people in my backyard.
Thank you.
The Fair Housing Act is going to trump that, and it's actually illegal for you to decide based on not wanting a particular type of people in my backyard, including no income. Low income.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did everybody hear Wallace okay?
My name is Shane Bullion. I live on 2415 Centennial Village. And, a couple of things that I heard from the gentleman speaking on behalf of that you had asked the question, the study. And I looked it up really quick, and it was one done from 1990 to 2000. And the areas that it case studied was Atlanta, Austin, Sun, Marcos, Boston, Worcester, Lawrence, Chicago, Gary, Kenosha, Cleveland, Akron, and Sacramento. So in my opinion, none of those are close to Casper. Another thing that the gentleman said that I would like to address was that he said that the petition in his mind was invalid because we went off, the guy going around doing the petition went off what was first posted before the meeting change and the zone change got. As somebody that did sign the petition, I would do it again. We've talked about traffic, we've talked about parks, we've talked about law enforcement. I wish he was here. I did speak with another local law enforcement agent. He was actually going to try to pull a PDF of crime statistics based off of single family versus in this town. I understand that Fair Housing Act, we can't discriminate against people, but a building's not a person in my mind. The other thing with those is reading the paper. Apartment complexes in this town have been locked down 2 or 3 times, I would say, within the last so many months. There's a school within 200, 300 yards at the most of where this complex will be that will have to go on lockdown. I understand that we have a school of choice, but most of us pick this neighborhood due to school of choice and wanting to get into that school. I would not be comfortable with my kids having to go on lockdown once, let alone multiple times throughout the year if it does ever become crime infested. I wrote a letter to our city our 3 city ward people. I don't think my letter was included in the planning and zoning. I don't think they forwarded that on. Another thing I addressed was if this development comes, our HOA pays for 2 green spaces that we had to have by the city for the development that would be right next to this development. The HOA, our money goes to keep those up and all of that. If this is allowed to be changed, are we just paying for city parks now above what our tax money is with our HOA money? Or is that something, I know you can't speak to the city, but that the city would take over again? Because I don't feel like my extra money that I pay to my HOA should go to city parks And that's essentially what they will become. That's all I got.
Thank you. Okay.
My name is Carol Trader. I'm a retired Marine and a disabled law enforcement officer. Some of that's been spoken. The apartment complexes that come up, they do become felony apartments. And this is an area where we don't want it. That's all been spoken. But you said that the lot was gonna sell for over $1 million?
No.
Well, that's what I've
I
been
said
told.
it's listed the whole 20 acres.
Okay, anyhow, you break that down for the 10 acres that want to get rid of them. That's $500,000 an acre. What does that do to our houses? That's just property. So our property taxes have already gone up 30, 40, and 80%. If they can sell this property at $500 an acre, that means the county will turn around and raise our taxes to match with that piece of property, which is ridiculous. Then when they build these multi-family apartments and they start to go down, our taxes won't go down. So we get put in a bad spot because of this. I'm sorry. My Marine Corps language, you gotta keep quiet. But in the end, we're the ones that pay. And it's just not right that you raise our taxes because one person wants to make $500,000 an acre, where she can go out and buy all the B.B. Brooks property she wants, 40 acres for $45,000, and they can build out there. But when it comes to that, I live on Heathrow, and right now, the junior high school makes Heathrow Speedway. And this adds to it. And right next to where they want to do that, they've already put a multi-strip mall in, which blocks the people's on Heathrow. They got something else there. If they want to do individual homes, as it was originally designed to do, I don't think anybody here will complain. But an apartment complex will bring crime, it will bring drugs, and right now, we have people walking our streets, checking our car doors at night. This is just gonna add to it. That's my complaint.
Okay. On property taxes, have any of you who have purchased these $800 million homes in that area thought of what you purchasing those homes did to my property taxes in my house? I don't live in an $800,000 home, and my house payment is increased by $300 a month because of all the construction of the $1 million homes in Casper. So it is what it is.
Can we just remind folks to say where they live, their address at the beginning, just so we can have a sense of where
Yes,
people are in the
please state your
neighborhood
name
here?
and your address when you come up. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, hi, my name is Thomas Shaner. I live on 2541 Boots Drive. Just pull the map up, the road in question. I'm also attorney in town, Shaner Law Office. I'm here on behalf of myself. A couple things with the applicant, and I really want to make this clear, is that the applicant is not the one developing this property. They will not be the one developing.
Exactly.
So when they say that these are gonna be high-end apartments, it's gonna fit the area, all of these suggestions of what will occur, we have no idea whether that's going to occur.
Exactly.
So that's the first bit. The second bit, we need to talk about the comprehensive plan. We haven't talked about the comprehensive plan and what the property is currently zoned as. So it's zoned as R2, which yes, is single family dwelling. But if you look, there's all sorts of conditional uses under the current R2, which will allow and comport with the comprehensive plan, such as restaurants, townhomes, businesses, office space. All of the things that the city of Casper went through to do already can be done without upsetting the current nature of the neighborhood, without increasing all of these problems. And I think that's the main thing we're talking about here, is what's the best use of the land? Well, maybe it is an apartment, maybe it's not, I don't know, but what I can tell you, what is being requested for here has nothing to do with land use and future land use. It has everything to do with effectuating a business transaction, as Mr. Lansing has said. There is some requirement in some contract that says somebody is not going to buy this unless they are allowed to build an apartment complex, a high-end one, a low-end one, it doesn't matter. So I think we need to call a spade, and that's really why we're here. And that's what I have. Thank you.
I'm Brian Lewis. I live at 2817 Croydon. And to say that this development does not affect my property is an inaccurate statement made by Mr. Lansing. It does affect my neighborhood and my property. The traffic, I just wanted to address that real quick. If we believe the study that says people that live in apartments only drive half the time that someone that lives in a single family home, but we have 3 or 4 times the amount of apartments, traffic still goes up. So that argument is also faulty. There's no justifiable need to rezone this neighborhood as the gentleman before me just spoke. I understand from a letter that was issued by the gentleman that's claiming to be the seller of this property on December 1st, that there are no current buyers for this property under R2 zoning. There are no home builders that want to build there. But if they can get this property rezoned to R4, then there is a buyer, and their plan is to build high-end apartments for working professionals. Anyone that has a job is a working professional. And quote unquote affluent people, which does seem to violate the Fair Housing Act to say we're only going to rent apartments to affluent people. Affluent people have enough money they can afford a mortgage. They don't need to buy an apartment. Rezoning this property to R4, I think we have to discuss the impacts to the traffic and the utilities instead of saying, well, let's just rezone it to R4 and then we'll figure it out later. I'm a practicing chemical engineer for the last 26 years. I have a firm grasp of demand on electrical voltage, water and natural gas flow and pressure. To say that the utilities are not going to be affected, as Mr. Lansing said, it might not be affected in that area, but if I live downhill, I may have effects on electrical voltage, water supply, natural gas supply, emergency services to my house, as other people have talked about. So I would ask the Planning and Zoning Commission to request a complete and comprehensive study of what rezoning to R4 is actually going to do to the neighborhood instead of, well, we'll just figure it out later. It's based on a business transaction. Just because the buyer or the seller, excuse me, doesn't have a buyer that's interested in building right now, doesn't mean that that won't happen in a year. So this seems to be just so somebody can get paid without much study or without much consideration to what happens in our neighborhood. I would ask that you guys deny the request to rezone until this comprehensive study is brought forth and we can discuss that.
Thank you.
That's what I have. Thank you.
Thanks.
My name is Michael Schulte. I'm a homeowner at 4270 Grandin Drive, and I'm here tonight not as a property owner, but I'm here tonight as a father of my 6-year-old Jet, who attends Summit. We purchased on Grandin Drive in September of 2021, primarily for the reason of being able to, even though Casper is school of choice, it's not guaranteed that you get your first choice school. So we moved into the neighborhood to have a better opportunity to have our children go to Summit, which include Jet, who's 6, Landry, who is 4, and Everly, who is 2. So we'll have kids at Summit for the next 8 years. And I'm not just here on behalf of them, but I'm here on behalf of all of the parents who have children that go to Summit. Now, if I am looking to build properties, right, as an owner, if you're investing in properties, you want multiple units. That's great. If I'm gonna build an apartment complex, I would love for that to be a high-end apartment complex. But I do not believe that there's a demand in Casper, Wyoming, where it's full of 26-year-old college graduates who make $200,000 a year and do not have kids and are looking for a place to live while they work at their high salary job in Casper. I know a lot of these people. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. I grew up there. My wife and I moved here in 2016. I've lived in Anaheim, California as well. I could see how something like this could work in that area. And maybe there's a chance it could work here. I'm not saying that's not impossible for that to happen, for us to build an apartment complex here and for it to produce the results that the developers and the owners are going to be looking for. It's not impossible. But as a parent with children at Summit, if this does not happen, are they going to just leave the apartment units empty until their high-end people come in to rent the units? Or are they going to start reducing the cost so that they can fill their apartment complex in order to avoid going bankrupt? Inevitably, they're going to fill the apartment units no matter what the supply and demand looks like. They're going to get filled. And I would say more likely than not, it's going to end up getting filled with more lower income type things that are going to increase the crime rate in this area and have a negative impact on the safety of the children that go to Summit Elementary School. All right, so on behalf of my family and my 3 children and the hundreds of children that go to Summit Elementary currently and are going to be going there into the future, whether the parents have chosen for their kids to go there or not, because every elementary school is going to be filled with children, even if it's the first pick of the parents or not. On behalf of all of those different families, I would like for you guys to vote no tonight for this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Newly Lemons. I live at 2803 Heathrow. Home is an investment for many. It's a retirement investment. It's a huge decision where you choose to live, and you look at all the factors when you move into that area. Casper's East Side has always been a place to covet for the housing market. City of Casper should not make decisions that will drastically affect home value in place and a place in Casper where people work hard to be able to afford to live in. Apartments always bring in people who commit crime. There's no way around it. Also, they care about the area less in general because they have no stake in it. Even nice apartments. When I built this house, I lived at the Ridge at Blackmore. It's a nicer apartment complex. And while building this house, my tool trailer was broken into. So when I bought the house, Lisa told me that she planned on developing the area that we're talking about the same way as the neighbor for the house that I built. I just had some notes here as he was talking, so. I think that covers everything else we covered.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Teresa Shoemaker. I live at 4331 Gospel. So I think the black circle line, my house is probably right on the line. So I wanted to make sure somebody within the circle was represented. Secondly, we are not to come up on our 2-year anniversary in our home. And so I think that also meets the second requirement he spoke of, where when we bought our home, that was zoned single family. So I think I meet both those requirements. A lot of the things I wanted to talk about have been addressed. Nobody has also brought up Centennial. That would be our neighborhood middle school. And it is already overflowing. And I know kids in our neighborhood have not gotten into Centennial because it's been too full. They've had to go to other schools. Same with Summit. It is a high demand elementary school. I have 2 children at Centennial. I had one at Summit for a year when we moved, and then I have one at Kelly. So that's off topic, but so I know I know of people that had to send their children to Centennial elsewhere because it was too full, and it's our neighborhood middle school. And so bringing in an apartment, you're going to bring in more children that our neighborhood schools just can't handle. Trying to think of all the other points I wanted to talk about, but now I'm nervous and it's like left to me. Speaking of traffic, so being on Gosfield, we're on a bus route, which I love because it gets plowed, and our street is wider. So, I mean, the traffic doesn't really bother me. People are very respectful of our driveway for pickup and drop off. But I do cut through. I'm not going to lie. I do not pull out and go to outer drive every time. And I can imagine people in those apartments are going to do the same. Come past my house, hit the roundabout, cut down to go, if we're going to Fire Rock, if we're going to Highland, like we cut through the neighborhood. And I would just think those people living in an apartment complex would do the same. I just don't think it's appropriate for the area. Not saying that everybody doesn't need a place to live. We also pay for, it's my understanding, we also pay for the walking paths with our homeowners, what's it called? Yeah, it's that. I'm pretty sure we pay for those paths as well. And if you bring more people in the area, there's going to be more use of those paths. There's going to be more animals walking those paths. And we're going to end up eating the cost that it's going to cost to keep maintaining those paths. I think that's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. We don't bite, it's okay.
Eloquent speaker here. I'm Heather Avery. I live at 2480 Boots Drive. I also teach at a middle school in Natrona County. And I have kids that go to Summit Elementary School. So I know that safety was brought up. And I know that the first speaker said that the drop off shouldn't be affected. It is, because the narrow streets, the drop off is affected. It is very congested there. Safety is a concern. Yes, they have crossing guards, but with more people, I mean, 21st, Centennial turns into 21st, and that has been coined Highway 21 because people race down it. It's going to be the same going the other way now. And the school will be affected. As a teacher in the district, I know the school will be affected. So that I'm going to bulk that right now. And then the petition was based on the first information that was sent out from the city. I would like to say that not very many people got that notice. When I was going door to door getting signatures, there were only a handful of people that got that notice. My neighbors didn't get the notice, and they live right next door to me. I was the one that gave it to them so that the petition could be made or whatever. Take that information, and they did what they needed to do with it. Okay. So when I was going door to door, not very many people got that notice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Craig. When the petition changed from the first to the second, were there two notices sent out or just the one the first time? How does that work?
We did, you sent an interim notice to tell everybody that the first meeting was canceled to try to get many people who did not show up last month. The work, we didn't have anybody show up. And then we sent a subsequent notice out that, let everybody know that it was, R4.
Thank you.
Was
the notice sent out to just the houses in the black circle?
Correct.
300 feet, right?
300 feet, football field in every direction.
It's 300 feet around the.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the city's also required to put an ad in the newspaper, and we're also required to put a sign on the property. We do our best. I think all the people here tonight are evidence that the process worked. If people talk, that's the way it's supposed to work. Unfortunately, we can't let everybody know, but the turnout kind of says that people understand what's going on.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi, good evening. My name is Josh Kalinowski. Address is 4409 Freedom Circle. I'm actually going to speak not for or against this. I really think we need to go back to the facts. I think Mr. Shaner did a fantastic job of actually going to the heart of the issue and really what we're looking at. Craig, if you don't mind, or whoever is controlling the map, could you pull that map up again of what the proposed area is? So I think a couple of things that I'd like to just address here is, one is this, I think the integrity of what we're looking at as well too. One is, and Mike, do you know who the registered agent of the LLC is? You don't?
Oh,
Yeah, you don't? Okay, good. Are you sure? Are you on oath or? So the registered agent is Lisa Virgin. So there's, I think what I'd like to just address is, let's just get to the facts. I mean, the fact is that Lisa is involved with it. And listen, Lisa's done a fantastic job of helping develop this entire area as well too. So that we have to make a huge compliment, because a lot of people, a lot of us live in homes that were developed by the fact that she developed areas, not only in this type of part of Casper, but other parts of Casper. So I don't know why that's an issue and why that's being addressed in the way it is, but for everybody's sake, we just need to know, like, this is the integrity of it and this is the facts of the matter. A couple of things that we haven't addressed that I'd like to just actually address here is that if you look at the development that we've maybe highlighted just a little bit to the north of the proposed area that's going to go to R4, that is actually PUD. Before it was commercial, it was C2. And the reason I know this property so well is because I happen to be one of the owners of a parcel there. Now, the traffic amount, we've already talked about how bad that congestion is on 21st Street right there. What maybe the commissioners aren't aware of, and maybe you are aware of this, but that is currently being developed. The developer in one of the largest blocks is Jump Craze. Jump Craze on average has 8,000 jumpers per month that go to that facility. So what we're talking about is changing something that's an R2 to an R4. So now we're going to increase the traffic dramatically. And I think that's one of the concerns that we have. One of the things that Craig talked about was that, we haven't done we haven't done any studies on that yet. That'll be after the fact. It's kind of like, let's pass the bill to find out what's in the bill. And I think that's what we have to be very careful of. And the concern that we have is because the city has obviously passed some developments in that area that in hindsight have probably not been in the best decision for the city of Casper or the people in that location. And so I think the trust with the neighborhood and the trust with the people has been broken and severed. And that's the concern I think that we have to look at, is what is the integrity and the degree and the reason for the change of the R2 to the R4. It's currently R4 under the conditions of what the people brought, the people that bought the property. It was already R2. When we bought the property, the condition that we had was we wanted to change it from C2 to PUD so that we had a more specific use and to make sure that the development of the land was actually for the benefit of the neighborhood. And I think that's the concern that we have too, is that we showed up when we did this. We also showed up as well too, to make sure that the people in the neighborhoods and all of the community members knew that everything that was going to be going into that new development was actually going to enhance it. One of the things that Mr. Lansing talked about too is that the revenue that would be produced because of this new planning and having a new apartment complex there. I would just say this, regardless of what you guys end up deciding, revenue is still going to be generated because eventually that line is going to be developed. And so as Commissioner, you talked about the $1 million homes.
that's going to generate money no matter what, right? So whether you do an R4 and you do multifamily, or if you do R2 and you do single family, which is proposed, it's already, you're going to generate money for the city of Casper already. The last thing is this, is that your job, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but your job is to look at the future of Casper and the development of it. And what is the proposed use of the land? You have made some wonderful decisions, and Casper has thrived through that. And I think it's also fair to say that there has been some decisions made that have not benefited the city of Casper. It has not benefited the neighborhoods that we live in as well too. And I think this is a situation right here where you have to really look at, is this really in the benefit, and the people that are trying to change this, are they looking to benefit the neighborhood, the city of Casper, people that have committed their lives and their children to this, and also the future of what we want to do for development. Right now, just as Mr. Shaner proposed, the zoning allows for a lot of development, except for one very specific change. And it's in your hands. So, thank you.
Nice stuff. Anyone else?
Oh, you dropped something. You dropped it.
I thought you weren't collecting those pieces of paper with.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Hi, my name is Gina Belger. I live at 2829 Arden Lane, and I'm the author of one of those emails that Craig received early on in this process when I saw that sign go up as I was headed home one day. I am a 40-year realtor in Casper. This zoning change will not affect my property, will not affect me, but it will significantly affect many of my clients and customers and friends that live in that area. As a realtor, when I show a home next to vacant land, it's my fiduciary responsibility to find out for my buyer client what that undeveloped land is going to be. I mean, if you're going to invest $400,000 to $700,000 in a home, you kind of want to know what's going to happen next door. Right now, it's a lot, an undeveloped lot. So you do some research as a good realtor. You tell them, okay, it's R2. It's just what you are. It's going to be houses. Because you have to remember that most of these homes on Boots and in the surrounding area have already changed hands several times. So most of these people were under the impression when they bought their homes that this is R2. And they felt comfortable making that investment there. And for most people, a home is their most significant investment that they have. Their home equity is a large part of their savings and their financial security. I urge you not to erase a significant part of these family savings and enrich the already wealthy by allowing the zoning change. In my opinion, it is a breach of the public trust. And I have to say one more thing, and I might. Okay, Lisa Burge is the agent for the trust, for the LLC, but the trust, the Tim Burge Family Trust, is the owner. I suspect Lisa is probably a beneficiary. And the other owner is Jason Lewis, who is part owner of Lisa Burge Real Estate. Okay, so Lisa is very much involved in this project. I don't know why that's a secret. She's a colleague of mine. I like her. She has done great things for Casper. She's a hardworking person. On this topic, I disagree. Everyone has a right to make a profit on their investment, but when Lisa and Tim Burge and Jason Lewis bought this property from Peg Ingram, the original developer, they knew what it was owned. So if they made a mistake, a bad investment, that's not my problem. And that's not the problem of the people in this neighborhood. Lisa and Tim and some of the people in that office were directly involved with Peg Ingram's development of all of this property in Kensington Heights and Centennial Hills. They knew exactly what they were getting into, and they were instrumental in the planning and direction of the entire subdivision. They were listing agents for all of those lots that were initially sold in there. They've already made a profit, a large profit on the development of this land. And now they seek to damage the homeowners who live there currently. No amount of landscape berms, attractive architecture, beautiful high-end apartments, can erase the fact that there's a 40-foot tall apartment building, several of them, behind your property, and that will affect your home value. Any appraiser will confirm that. I know that if I have a property for sale, a listing, and there's an apartment, even within a half a block, half of the buyers who look at that home are like, I don't want to be near those apartments. So it does affect your home value. That's just reality. There are apartment vacancies all over town. We need housing. Mike's right, we do. We have a lack of housing in Casper, but we need single-family homes between $200,000 and $400,000 desperately. We do not need apartments. In conclusion, one of the comment that Mr. Lansing made was that first-time homebuyers would go into luxury apartments because they don't have a 20% down payment. And I find that incorrect as well, because we have tons of first-time homebuyer money, WCDA money available in Casper. There's 100% financing available. You can borrow your down payment. Interest rates are going down. Interest rates have really not affected our market. It's the lack of inventory that's affected our market in the last 18 months. We need houses for sale, and I would love to see somebody come in here and put some patio homes, some townhomes. I mean, so you're not going to build $500,000 and $700,000 homes adjacent to Wyoming Boulevard, but the property is still available for other residential, single-family home use that would be appropriate for the area and not affect the existing homeowners that live in that area. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm Hassan Beveridge, 2941 Boots. I just want to say that I was privy to a phone call between, well, since we're so anonymous, I'll just keep that anonymous, but Jason Lewis was on the other end of the phone. I won't tell you who was on the other end, but he said specifically, do I want to have an apartment complex in this neighborhood? No, but guess what? I own the property, or I have to get rid of the property. So that says that he doesn't even want it here, but he has to get rid of his property because it's eating a hole in his pocket. So I'd like that to be on record.
How long ago did it sell?
It was 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And also the school of choice thing that keeps getting brought up. Yeah, it is school of choice, but the people who live in the neighborhood get more pull, I guess. They choose people who live in the neighborhood first to attend the schools, as it's nice for your kids to be able to walk to school, and then they open it up to the broader community. So that will affect the neighborhood school having all those people there. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I just want to say thank you to everybody that spoke, everybody that showed up tonight. It's wonderful. I, for one, love to see people being involved in your community, especially when it is going to affect your neighborhood and your life. So thank you very much for being here tonight. Appreciate it. Seeing nobody else wishing to speak in either support or opposition to the case, the chair hereby closes the public comment portion of the public hearing and calls for a motion to approve, deny, table, or postpone to a date certain, case ZOC 527-2023.
Somebody's got to say something. So I'll make a motion, to get it on the table for discussion purposes only. I'll make a motion that we approve the proposed
ZOC 527-2023.
Oh, you wanted that now, okay. VOC 5272023.
Thank you. Have a motion to approve to move forward to the Casper City Council.
I'll second.
We have a second. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Now, having a motion and a second. Now we can have some discussion.
first of all, I live in the area. I live up on Orange Church Avenue. I'm in the same HOA as these folks are in the older part. And I can say traffic, so I won't, but I'll say congestion. That area, I come down, sometimes I come down 12th Street and sometimes I come down 15th Street. But because 12th Street is more of a sharp, a hilly street, a steeper street, this has happened to me several times. I have to stop in the middle of 12th Street to Wyoming Boulevard. And I look to my left and I see cars all the way Wyoming Boulevard towards the mountain. And I see cars lining up, stacked up on 15th Street, trying to get on Wyoming Boulevard. I'm not saying traffic. I know it's good. But anyway, the congestion is just terrible up there. And then with that Heathrow Road, as skinny as it is, which we had nothing to do about again, I'm against this proposed change. And I respect the developers. In fact, I bought my house from Lisa Burridge years ago. And she treated us very well. But it's like we're putting the cart before the horse. How can you vote on a proposed change for a piece of property with not knowing what's going to happen there? And yes, I've heard apartment house and all that, but I can remember when Lisa came in several years ago and asked us to change that to R2 for single homes. So that's why I'm against it, mainly because of the congestion of the area. And also there's plenty of undeveloped property up there now. Beside that junk craze, there's a lot of extra area where they can build on. And I understand there's going to be not just junk craze. I guess there's going to be several shops up there.
Yeah, they have areas for other shops within that.
Yeah, within that
There's gonna be a
complex.
coffee shop and a restaurant and.
Yeah, so I'm against it. That's why I'm against it.
Anybody else? Mary Beth, you want to say something?
I concur with Terry. I think that congestion issue is the biggest problem. All the other arguments about having tall buildings and that kind of thing, that can happen to any of us. I have a nice view of the mountain, but there could be houses built where I live too. So I don't think that's really a good argument. I think it probably does align with the FUL. However, I think that long term, it doesn't appear to be the greatest thing for Casper in that area with so much congestion. So I concur with Terry on that point.
There's a whole list of things that it could be other than apartments. And I'm not convinced that it's going to be apartments. I mean, the owner didn't show up, the buyer didn't show up. I mean, the lawyer showed up and told us that I can't tell you who the buyer is or who the owner is, but it's going to be apartments. So there's a whole list of things that could be, and I don't know which one I believe it will be. So I'm opposed to it.
Anybody else? Thoughts? Discussion?
I do, but ladies.
Yeah, to me, it seems to fit with the community center use in the master plan. And we have a process for when things get approved. And so the traffic studies and what the site plan might be in the future are not on the table today as much as just the zone change and if it fits with the master plan. And to me, it feels like it's a good fit with a property adjoining, you know, that goes along Wyoming Boulevard and that is on the way this map is laid out. So I feel like the zone change is appropriate and that it's a different discussion to have about congestion property development and how what might eventually go there in the future. That's a different discussion than what is on the table today, which is the zone change alone. So
If somebody had not have said that they were going to put apartments in it, and we look at it as just somebody wanting to change a zone so that they could have any of this list of what is on there, then yes, it fits the master plan. Any of those things would fit the neighborhood. So yeah, that's
yeah, I feel like there's again, a lot of discussion about an apartment complex that's not
it's not
on
set
the
in stone,
table
it's not on
today.
the table today.
So that's where I feel a pull on that. So
I mean, just to clarify, whatever goes into that property, I'm assuming that it wouldn't be an HOA. If we changed it to a C, or I mean, a R4, if it apartment, townhouse, whatever, would it fall under an HOA?
Chairman, there's no requirement that the city can impose that would require an HOA.
Okay, that's, I wanted to double check on that. Here's where I've always stood on a bunch of things, especially when it comes to property. And just a raise of hands, I'm just curious. If somebody came and told you what you can and cannot do or change on your property, would you be okay with it? Raise your hand if you'd be okay with somebody telling you the property that you own, no matter what it is, they can tell you what you can and cannot do. Would you be okay with that? Raise your hand. I get that, but the city, would you be okay with the city coming in and telling you what you can and can't do? Okay, are you okay with it? Okay. I'm one that I'm not. I'm one that it's my property, let me do to a point within reason what I can and cannot do. Obviously, I don't live in an HOA and that's one of the main reasons why.
You asked us for a vote, we don't do our vote basically.
Right.
Then you're saying, no, your vote's no good.
No, he's just giving you his opinion is that he would not vote that direction is all he's saying.
Right.
So you don't mow your lawn, you don't shovel your sidewalk, you don't, do
I said within reason. Okay. So I do. But anyways, give me a sec. So I side on if somebody wants to do something with their property, I have a hard time telling them no.
Yeah, but
However, I do believe in the aesthetics of neighborhoods. I do believe in what fits and what's gonna fit for the future and what is beneficial for the community and even further out. I toss on one side because we had to come before us about that shopping center, then putting in that what was it, that, wine place, the liquor store
Oh,
or,
yeah, the local, the
well,
local.
do you remember what that was called, what it's called?
The local, I think, right?
Yeah, and we had a lot of people come up against us on that there.
Yeah.
But yet, every complaint that I heard, I have not seen it nor heard it in that area. It was a good thing that we chose to change that, but it fit with that area. So I guess where I stand that you guys brought up, if it wasn't an apartment complex, but it was any of the other things or just never mentioned, how would we all vote? But I go to the other side, it's a C2, there's just as many options and opportunities for it.
I mean, R2.
Yeah, an R2, sorry. A lot of people said they were sold on it, of it being an R2, but yet that got changed in 2022, last year.
2020.
Oh, 2020, sorry.
Yeah.
And then anything after it was a PUD, which is close. So overall, honestly, I'm gonna go with Terry, and I'm opposed to changing. I think it should remain in R2. They have many other options they can choose just as well to develop that land. So, yeah.
Any other discussion? Coming into this, I was not sure. You guys did a great job of voicing your concerns, and I commend you for being active in your community and voicing your concerns. So if there's no more discussion, we will now vote on the motion, which is to approve case ZOC 527-2023. So please cast your vote.
Okay, the motion failed.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Take a break while we're.
Yeah, we're gonna take a break. Let's back to order. My glasses so I can see here. All right. Second public hearing tonight will be for consideration of case ZOC 524-2023 concerning a request for zone change of 8 city-owned parcels, 2 county-owned parcels, and 3 state-owned parcels from a PUD to C2 general business. The applicants are the city of Casper, Natrona County, and the state of Wyoming. Can we please get a staff's report at this time?
Absolutely. The city of Casper, state of Wyoming, and Natrona County have applied as landowners for a zone change of multiple properties located north of East 12th Street between South Conwell Street and South Wall Street. Subject area is currently zoned PUD, and the proposed zoning is C2 general business. Current land uses within the subject area include Life Steps Campus, Wheels on Wheels, Highland Park Cemetery offices, the future site of the County Health Department, and the Youth Crisis Center. As the name of the zoning district suggests, the intent of the planned unit development zoning classification is to permit maximum flexibility in land development regulations and standards under a professional prepared comprehensive plan and program. Per section 1752-090 of the municipal code, when an area is considered for PUD zoning, a site plan and a set of development standards, including architectural standards, permitted uses, setbacks, signage, densities, usable open space provisions, etc., must be approved, and all future development must adhere to those standards. The Natrona County Health Department is in the design stages for the development at the corner of Conwell and 12th Street. on a portion of former city-owned land that was originally set aside for the expansion of the cemetery. PUD did not have anticipated the construction of the health department at the time it was established, and under current zoning, additional steps would be necessary to update the planning and development documents to account for the planned construction before a site plan could be submitted or approved. Although there may have been a compelling reason for the flexibility afforded by the PUD zoning at the time it was originally zoned, the added complexity and flexibility is not necessary under today's zoning regulations, and all the existing and proposed uses of the property can be accommodated under C2 zoning. With the approval of the zoning to C2, any future development on the properties can be accommodated without the requirement to create and or amend a set of PUD guidelines. Section 1712-170 of the municipal code provides guidance on zone change requests and requires the community development director to provide a report to the commission as to the request conformance with a comprehensive land use plan. Generation Casper also provides a future land use plan, which is found in chapter 4 on page 4-26. Future land use plan identifies the physical distribution of land uses and forms a basis for future zoning and land use regulations. The FLU designates the desired future use of the subject property as neighborhood center. Page 4-32 of the comprehensive plan provides the primary uses within the area designated neighborhood centers as low-scale commercial uses supporting general neighborhood needs with supporting multifamily residential. General characteristics include uses such as schools and other public facilities such as recreation centers. Mr. Chairman, I had no public comments on this, and I have 5 exhibits. A is the application for a zone change. B, public notice sent to property owners within 300 feet. C, legal notice sent to the Star Tribune. D, photo of the public notice sign on the property. And E, memo to the chairperson and members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. That's our report.
Righty. Thank you for the report. The exhibits are noted. Does anyone on the commission have any preliminary questions about the report? Nothing? Okay.
Why do we have?
That's a
long story.
Yeah, I personally don't want to maintain it forever, but there's already a lot of properties that are zone PUD that have those development requirements. I would love to get rid of it. Honestly, I think it's an outdated concept.
Okay.
It's
That's a good question. Thank you.
It is.
Yeah. It's kind of an inconsistent zoning that just doesn't work the way it was intended. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Now it's time when we ask for members of the audience to come forward in either support or in opposition to this case. Please remember to state your name and address clearly into the microphone for the record. Anyone wishing to speak in support of this case, please come forward now. Okay. Anyone wishing to?
Oh, someone's coming.
Oh, okay. Thought he was just stretching his legs, sorry.
A long ways up there.
Yes.
My name's Larry Winburn. I live on Fenway Street. I've been there for 72 years. I am 72 years old. I unfortunately never left home. The only thing I'm saying, question is why are we now changing the zoning? I mean, it's been there 72 years, and I know just fine. You put in Meals on Wheels. We put in Lightstep Campus. We put in everything else. Now, all of a sudden, we have to change this zoning. Why are we doing that?
Because
What's the need for that?
in the PUD zoning, there are just some technicalities that cause a lot more paperwork to be done in order to get the health department put in there. Whereas if we change it to it can still go in, but it just makes the process a little easier. PUD had some strange regulations in there that they're outdated and they just need to change. We're trying to get rid of the PUD altogether.
So if it goes in the general business, we got enough traffic on 12th Street. We don't need any more.
Well, there's not gonna be much general business other than
corner.
Yeah.
That's gonna be worse than that. Because even on Fenway Street, we got the dentist's office And that caused so much confusion. They used my driveway to turn around in. And then the city wouldn't let people become the daycare. Well, they come up the street and the daycare is on the left-hand side. So now they're using my driveway to turn around. But there's nothing I can do about that because unfortunately the city doesn't care about that much. They just let them do it. But the other house was a drug house and they didn't care about that either.
Oh, goodness.
We turned that in numerous times. I got a guy up on the corner. You can only walk one path through his house. Everything else is just trash piled up. You can't walk down the street because of the trees. You don't trim them. Go to the city, you get nothing. So I'm just kind of concerned anymore about, I don't want to see any more traffic. I mean, it's getting bad enough the way it is. I mean, you got people going in Meals and Wheels. They come in and out all the time.
I'm
That's
one of
fine,
them,
'cause-
I'm one of them 4 days a week.
Okay. I mean, you guys are fine doing that, but I mean.
Don't watch it.
I mean, it is extra traffic. And then the same thing, I love the idea that you put the receptacles in there, but in the same sense, there's more traffic. It's just getting down to the point where,
Casper's turning into a city.
yeah, everything in the old. And then the other thing too, where's the city gonna put all that snow? Cause they pile it up down there in the bottom of that, like you wouldn't
That's where
believe.
they have been piling.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrible. And then if Wi-Fi has troubles, they use that area over there to land in, and then the ambulance back over to the hospital. So if they go in there and start changing all that,
Get busy.
same thing, in the future, you can change it, but you're still gonna make it bad. one
Yeah,
way or
this,
the other.
and this zone's change isn't gonna change what the health department building going in there. It's just, it's just gonna kind of streamline the process a little bit.
Cause I went to school with Wilson. And my mom and aunt was, nursery at the children's home.
Oh.
And there was a house sitting on that 12th, right across Fenway off of 12. Me and them kids played all the time.
Yeah.
Played with kids from the children's home. My front yard.
I had a
the
few friends that went
yard, and the other lot was a football field.
Yeah.
I remember when there was Cook's potato chips up there.
Cooked potato chips was up there, then it burnt down.
I remember. You wouldn't think I'd remember that part.
Well, I know
Ethan,
you
you
eat
can't
cooked
remember that breakfast.
You beat cooked potato chips.
It, I remember Cook's potato chips and I'm not near as old as you are.
I thought Casper developed around Perry.
Right?
I thought that's how Casper developed.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Seeing nobody else wishing to speak in either support or opposition to this case, chair hereby closes public comment portion of the public hearing and calls for motion to approve, deny, table, or postpone to a date certain case EOC 524/2023.
Make a motion to approve it.
We have a motion to approve. From
Second.
Commissioner Bates. We have a second from Commissioner Hall. Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion?
So the type of businesses that go in on PUD about the same as that go in on
I'm
the,
glad you brought that up. I wanted to bring that up. ED actually allows anything. So the C2 is more restrictive
than the PUD. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Craig, Mr. Chairman. Craig, you have, again, you haven't seen the final layout. You don't know if the traffic's gonna be coming down 12th Street or streets or both or whatever.
I don't. And, again, my answer would be the same. We do
Not
that as time
talking
of
about
development. And as with traffic and utilities and everything else, if those studies show that it can't happen, the traffic or the utilities can't accommodate the development, it doesn't happen. If the traffic is causing problems, they have a chance to mitigate that through good engineering or design. And if they can't mitigate it, it doesn't happen. So I know it seems backwards, but there's too many unknowns at the time of the zone change.
Right.
Does seem bad. I know you're doing your best. Everybody's doing their best.
Anybody else? All right, there being no further discussion, we'll now vote on the motion, which is to approve case ZOC 524-2023. Please cast your votes. Please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, the motion carries.
All right, zone change has been approved. On to case number 3. Third public hearing tonight will be for consideration of SUB 541-2023 concerning final plat approval of the Natrona County Health Edition. The applicant is Natrona County. Are the applicants present, and do you wish to proceed? Okay, then we'll have the staff report. Please give us the staff report at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Continuation of the last one. So application has been received for a replat of a portion of the Highland Park Cemetery Edition number 2 to create the Natrona County Health Edition. Property involved encompasses 8 acres and is located directly west of Life Steps campus at the northeast corner of the intersection of South Conwell and 12. Property is sold by the city of Casper to Natrona County for the development of the county health facility. The replat was a condition of the sale of the property. Property is currently zoned PUD. It's just recommended to change that. The Natrona County Health Edition consists of a single lot, which has frontage on 2 public streets. There are no minimum lot size requirements under either the PUD or CT zoning of the properties. We haven't provided any recommended conditions of approval. We have not received any public comments, and I have 5 exhibits. A is the application for a plat. B, public notice sent to property owners within 300 feet. C, legal notice sent to the Star Tribune. D, photo of public notice sign on the property. And E, memo to the chairperson and members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. So report.
Thank you for the report. Exhibits are noted. Does anyone on the commission have any preliminary questions for staff about the report?
What is the,
I'm sorry.
just to, at the bottom of the subject property, there are 2 pieces of PUD.
Yep.
Do we know what will happen with that?
Those are landscaping right now. Nice landscaping. You can see along there this wide landscaping strip. Those are actually what I'm referring to as orphan parcels. Those are being rezoned. The rezoning that you just fixed is changing those to C2 as well, but there's no plans to do anything different right there. That's
okay.
At some point, they probably ought to be converted into right of way or something else, but no plans to develop those.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Greg, I have a question too. I'm certainly for this project, and if it's needed badly for the health department. But my only question is, where are we gonna bury people? You know, that whole, I'm not trying to be funny, but
Where are the dead people gonna live?
but that whole area, that's why they put up that fence. I know things can change, and this is a change, but that whole area was gonna be a cemetery, and all suddenly.
I remember, I don't know if you were on the commission at that time, but when we disposed of the Wolf Creek Cemetery property over on the west side, that came up at that time too. And my understanding from the city cemetery folks is that we're not burning through the land like we used to because of the prominence of cremation and other things. So we don't foresee the need that we once.
I was on the city council when they bought that property out there towards the mountain. And the problem with that, it was so rocky. Back then you had the caskets per se. You still have them, but not extent did back then. You couldn't dig 6 foot down because it was so rocky.
Yeah.
So that was one of Ken Erickson's final events. You know, when he was on the county city manager.
Okay. I left my notes at home. One of the reasons why I wanted to call, and so it's going back to what we just approved. It doesn't change anything, but if you don't mind me asking a question of the fact that we changed that section to a C2, does that have any effect on Lifestyle Campus, YCC, Mills on Wheels, at all, changing it from a PUD to a,
All the existing uses, Mr. Chairman, are permitted under C2. That was one of the first things we checked is what zoning district would fit everything that's already there.
Okay.
And like we just talked about, C2 actually is more restrictive. Moving forward, there's gonna be fewer allowed uses there than there are right now.
okay. I apologize, I meant to ask that before and I forgot until we started and I saw the map and I'm like, so, but I wanted to just make sure it didn't affect their businesses. So, thank you.
Awesome. All right,
So you need a motion for.
not yet. Next, I would ask that the applicant and or their authorized representative come forward to the microphone, state your name and address for the record and explain your application to the commission.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, member of the commission. I'm Shane Porter with WLC Engineering and Surveying here in Casper. We're the representing the applicant for the project. We put the plat together. Just here to try to answer any questions you guys might have on that plat.
Anybody have any questions for him?
Nope.
I
Thank you
think
though.
we're good. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Appreciate you being here. Now's the time when we ask for members of the audience to come forward in either support or in opposition to this case. Please remember to state your name and address clearly in the microphone for the record. Anyone wishing to speak in support of this case, please come forward now. Anyone? Okay. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the case, please come forward now. All right. Seeing nobody else wishing to speak in either support or opposition to the case, chair hereby closes the public comment portion of the public hearing and calls for a motion to approve, deny, table, or postpone to a date certain, case SUB 541-2023.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner
You
Wingeter.
want the number of the whole thing?
We have a second by Commissioner Hutchison. Sub 541-2023, I'll state it. Having a motion in a second, is there any more discussion? Good. All right, sounds good. Then, having no further discussion, we'll now vote on the motion, which is to approve case SUB 541-2023. Please cast your votes. Please record the vote.
All members voting aye, the motion carries.
All right. Your application for final plat has been approved. Staff, please advise the applicant of the next steps.
It will be scheduled for a council meeting and we'll let you know.
Case number 4. Fourth public hearing tonight will be for consideration of cases ANX 533-2023 and ZOC 534-2023 concerning request for approval to annex 0.51 acres located at the southwest corner of Mary Street and Bryan Evansville Road. Request also includes a proposed change from county zoning to city zoning, classification M2 General Industrial. The applicant is Gene L. Robinson Living Trust. Is the applicant present and do you wish to proceed? Can I please get staff report at this time?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. An application has been received requesting annexation of half acre more or less, described as lot 5 of the Bryan subdivision, located at the southwest corner of Mary and Bryan Evansville Road. The purpose of the annexation is to obtain water and sewer for the property. The property is contiguous with the city Casper limits on all sides. Existing land uses in the area are all industrial. In a companion item, the applicant has requested M2 zoning for the property upon annexation. In that the property is currently platted, the applicant is not requesting subdivision approval at this time. Given the homogeneous industrial character and zoning of the surrounding area, the proposed M2 zoning is appropriate and consistent. Mr. Chairman, we've not recommended any conditions. There's been no public comments, and I have 6 exhibits. A is the application for an annexation. B, application for a zone change. C, public notice sent to property owners within 300 feet. D, legal notice sent to the Star Tribune. E, photo of the public notice sign on the property. And F, memo to the chairperson, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. That concludes our report.
Okay. Thank you for the report, and the exhibits are noted. Does anyone on the commission have any preliminary questions for staff? About the report. All right, Beth.
Who pays for the water and sewer hookup?
I agree. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Any others? Okay. Next, I would ask that the applicant and or their authorized representative come forward to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and explain your application to the commission.
Gene Robinson, PO Box 555, Casper, Wyoming, 82602. The reason I'm asking for the zone change in the water and sewer is one of the city of Casper projects for 2024 is to redo Bryan Evansville Road. They're going to put curb and gutter in, drains, lights, and I just thought it'd be a good time to have water hooked to the property while there's a construction going on.
It makes sense.
Makes sense?
Because I do plan on building another metal building there. I own 5 of the 9 lots down there now. And like I said, I believe bids in the spring and construction starts in the spring and ends in the fall. So I just thought it'd be a good time to have it done.
All righty. Anybody have any questions? Mr. Robinson? All right. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Now it's time when we ask members of the audience to come forward in either support or in opposition to this case. Is there anybody wishing to speak in support? Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Okay, saying nobody wishing to speak in either support or opposition to this case, chair hereby closes the public comment portion of the public hearing. The request for annexation and a zoning request will be voted on separately. First up for the vote will be the annexation request. Chair calls for a motion to approve, deny, table, or postpone to a date certain, case ANX 5332023.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion to
Approve ANX 5332023.
a motion to approve, moved by Commissioner Iskew.
Second?
We have a second by Commissioner Hall. Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? All right. Having no discussion, we will now vote on the motion, which is to approve case ANX 5332023. Please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, the motion carries.
Right. Now will be the vote for the zone change. Chair calls for a motion to approve, deny, table, or postpone to a date certain, case ZOC 5342023.
I'll make that
We have a motion to
change.
approve.
Yeah, to
Approve ZOC 5342023. So moved by Commissioner Wingeter. And Commissioner Plowcheck seconds.
The only reason why I didn't bring up you just said it. So I figured was it necessary to bring it up again?
You're good, Terry. Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? No further discussion. We will now vote on the motion, which is to approve case ZOC 5342023. Please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, the motion carries.
Fantastic. Your annexation and zone change requests have been approved. Staff, please advise him of the next steps.
We will be scheduling the hearings at city council. We'll let you know. So there's at least one more public hearing you need to show up for. And we'll have to do a annexation study in the meantime also. It's still Still about 3-4 months ahead of us.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry you had to sit through that whole meeting.
Thank you for being here.
Interesting.
Yes. It's good. Everybody needs to sit through some of those meetings. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good
Thank
one.
you very much.
Now brings us to case number 5. The fifth and final public hearing tonight will be for consideration of SUB 540-2023 concerning final plat approval of the Morado Cove addition. The applicants are Bert K. Hammond and Carol S. Hammond, trustees under the Bert K. Hammond Living Trust. Are the applicants present, and do you wish to proceed? Thank you. Can we please get a staff's report at this time?
Application has been received for a replat of 3 existing lots located in the Heights Edition and the Heights Edition number 2 to create the proposed Morado Cove subdivision. Subject properties are located at 1371 and 6311 Morado Drive and encompass 1.485 acres more or less. The area is part of the McMurray Business Park PUD and governed by the PUD guidelines that were established when the area was originally approved for development. As is the case with all PUDs, development regulations such as allowable uses, minimum lot sizes, and architectural standards differ from those governing typical developments found elsewhere in the city. Article 6 of the PUD guidelines requires concurrence from the McMurray Business Park Design Review Committee for development proposals, and as required, the DRC has provided a resolution, certificate of plan compliance in support of the proposed replat. The plan for the property is for the development of townhomes. Mr. Chairman, we have no conditions recommended. We have no public comments, and we have 5 exhibits. A is the application for a plat. B, public notice sent to property owners within 300 feet. C, legal notice sent to the Star Tribune. D, photo of the public notice sign on the property. And E, memo to the chairperson and members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. That's it.
Thank you for the report, and the exhibits are noted. Does anyone on the commission have any preliminary questions for staff about the report? Okay. Next, I would ask the applicant and or their authorized representative to come forward to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and explain your application to the commission, please.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Brad Holwagner with WLC Engineering at 200 Pronghorn. I am representing the owner here today, and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Planning on building townhomes?
Yep. Single family townhomes. That's really the plan.
All right. Anybody have any questions? No? All right. Well, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Now it's time to ask for members of the audience to come forward in either support or in opposition to this case. And is there anybody wishing to speak in support of the case? Okay. Please state your name and address, microphone.
I'm Mike Hammond. My address is 8902 Silver Court in Highland Ranch, Colorado. I'm down here, and my dad and my mother, their trust, is the one working on the project over here. I'm just helping them with that. I just wanted to really be available to see what questions anyone had about what we've kind of worked on or put together over there. If you have any questions about it.
Fantastic. Nice of you to come all the way from Colorado to help your parents. Good job.
This is home for me. So,
Good job.
Yeah. Happy to be here.
All right. Anybody have any questions for Mike? All right.
Okay.
We're good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Is there anybody that wishes to speak in opposition to the case? My paper's stuck together and my fingers aren't working. Seeing nobody else wishing to speak in either support or opposition to this case, the chair hereby closes the public comment portion of the public hearing and calls for a motion to approve, deny, table, or postpone to a date certain case SUB 540-2023.
I'll make the motion to approve case SUB 540-2023.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Hall. Do we have a second? Commissioner Polachek gives us a second. Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? I think it'd be kind of nice to see some townhomes up there in that area. All right, there being no further discussion, we'll now vote on the motion, which is to approve case SUB 540-2023. Please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
With all members voting aye,
I'm abstaining.
with Commissioner Bates abstaining and all other members voting aye, the motion carries.
Thank you. Your application for final plat has been approved. Staff, please advise the applicant of the next steps.
It'll be scheduled for the, city council and it'll be by resolution, so no publishing.
Thank you, gentlemen. Which moves us to our next thing on the agenda is special issues. There are none listed on the agenda for this month, so we will move on to communications. Chair calls for any communications from the commission. Anybody have anything?
And one thing. I was gonna bring this up earlier and because he wasn't supposed to talk about it. I kept it out. But we really need, in my opinion, we need to talk to YDOT. The city needs to talk to YDOT to get that 4-lane all the way. You know, they stop at a mountain road and then it needs to go all the way because it's right now it's 2-lane all the way, maybe in front of junk trays, it switches to a 4-lane. Yes, there's a couple turning lanes further up, but I don't know why the YDOT isn't completing that. I know
Casper was a lot smaller when they built Outer Drive.
Well, they need to look at that. I did several years ago talk to one of the YDOT people about it. I think even before I was on this board. He said, well, the traffic count doesn't allow for it. But no, I disagree with them right now. They need to finish that. So I don't know that I'd like to make it.
Mr. Chairman, it would have been nice if we had a traffic study.
Right?
We don't need one anymore.
Just a possibility, maybe the city ought to ask for a traffic study out there.
Yes.
Maybe the city ought to ask for a traffic study.
Somebody's got to pay for it. We had a willing payer.
What does something like that cost?
$10,000.
$10,000? Well, you
Get
don't
that
think
much in your wallet, Terry.
you don't think there's $10,000 in this?
All right. Any other communications from commissioners?
Not really. I just wanted to clarify to everybody, regarding the SUV 540 2023. I've read it, but when Mike Hammond showed up, he is, a relation through, marriage to a family member. And so that's why I abstain. I didn't know it was the same Hammonds really regarding it all. I have nothing to regarding any of this, but that's the reason why I abstained is I'm like, oh, that's family. Never mind. I'm abstaining. So
You're good.
just want to make that clear.
All right. Well, I just want to thank Commissioner Hall, Commissioner Bates for your service. Been good working with you.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Unfortunately, we had to cancel our Christmas party at our house because my children had things happen and they aren't able to be here for the holidays. And my wife said, I'm not doing all that work by myself. I don't know what I am, chopped liver.
It was a good Christmas party last
Some of our interviews.
Oh, yes. We have approved 2 new members of the commission. We had 4 fantastic applicants.
Who are they?
We liked all 4 of them but we chose, I can't tell them who we chose.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they know now.
Oh, okay. We chose Andrew Beamer, who used to work for the city. He's retired. And we also chose Ann Rubel, who used to run the Nicholas Art Museum. So they both have some fantastic, resumes, and I think that their personalities and their experience will fit quite well on the Planning and Zoning Commission. So we will be bringing them on in January.
Awesome.
So,
Andrew Beamer's a great guy. I've loved working with him
Yep.
with the city, so.
And he likes my cookies, so that was a plus. So
Done for our
anyway,
last meeting.
I know.
Really?
I was out of town. I was in Cincinnati until this afternoon, so I was lucky I got a nap.
Back for this.
Yeah, you're
I
welcome.
really appreciate you being here for
I'm,
this.
I'm glad I was here. Any communication from the Community Development Director or the City Planner?
Tonight, sir.
Okay. How about our council liaison? Is he on Zoom? No. He's just watching. Chair calls for communications from the Historic Preservation Commission liaison. Well, I can tell we did a, November 13th, we went and toured the Rialto and the America theaters. They were just getting ready to close on the deal, new owners. So we got to, go explore two of my old teenage hangouts. Brought back memories. I watched Star Wars in one of them and Star Trek with my mom in the other one. But it was kind of fun. We got to go behind the scenes and down in the
Catwalks.
yeah, up in the catwalks, down in the dressing rooms, and got to explore things that you normally don't see.
So Mike, what is, one's gonna be, can you say what they're all?
The Rialto, they're bringing it back to live shows, kind of like a comedy club. So they'll be leveling out the floor down by the stage in order to have some tables.
Are they gonna have like food?
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't, and they're gonna have a bar out in the lobby, I believe is what he said. And the Rialto's, yeah, they're gonna have a bar at the lobby, when you walk in, and you turn to the left, and the Rialto cigar store's right there. They're gonna open that up, and he's going to run the drinks concession for him with the alcohol. So
The America?
They're
Live music.
yeah. So that they'll have a place, in the summertime, they've got the venue outside
What
downtown.
they had over at Beverly Plaza at one time.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're gonna do live music there to help with the live music scene in Casper, which we need. So,
That'll be nice, kind of a smaller venue than the event center, but not,
yeah,
a school or something. So,
right.
yeah.
And kind of cut down on some of the outdoor noise downtown during the wintertime.
Right.
They can bring in some musical acts in the wintertime. That'd be nice. So I think it's gonna be pretty cool.
Good for downtown.
Yep. All right, and then the old Yellowstone district. You want to report on what you guys been doing? I missed out on the cleanup, but.
We didn't have a meeting in November, but we've had a busy month for December. There's been a couple cleanups down in the old Yellowstone district, and then Rudolphing. All kinds of Rudolphing, going into all kinds of businesses, giving out prizes, and I think all that'll be on the Facebook page. Is that right?
So, yeah. And we're gonna get ready to we're gonna do a sing and crawl on the 28th. I haven't heard.
That's what I'm told.
That's open to the public as well.
That's open to the public. Okay, so
Let's go.
everybody in the audience,
21 and over.
21 and over, because they're gonna do pub crawl, right? So. Okay, and you can contact planning for details on that. All right. Anybody else have anything at all?
Vicky, Kim, it's been a great pleasure working with you guys.
Thank you.
Feel the same. Thank you.
All right, final item on the agenda is adjournment. Next meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission scheduled for Thursday, January 11th.
So moved.
At 6 p.m. at the Lyric.
Second.
All right, moved by Wingeder, seconded by Hall. Any discussion? Don't want to talk about it? Please cast your vote. Count the vote.
All members voting aye, the motion carries.
All right, I guess we have to go home.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.